Over 60? Worried you may be heading toward dentures? Then you need to hear about this simple, natural remedy for your teeth. Maybe you've experienced that sudden tooth pain that seems to come out of nowhere, a sharp pain when you bite, a throbbing ache that keeps you awake, sensitivity when you drink something cold, or gums that feel sore and irritated. And when you're over 60, that kind of problem can feel especially frightening because you may start thinking, is this the beginning of losing another tooth? Am I going to need dentures? But here's something you may not know. There is a simple spice that has been used in dental care for generations. It's clove. And there's a very specific reason clove became so closely associated with tooth discomfort. That reason is a natural compound called eugenol. Eugenol can produce a numbing effect and has properties that make it useful in certain dental preparations. That's why clove isn't just an ordinary kitchen spice when we're talking about your mouth. And that's where this gets interesting, because there isn't just one way people have used clove. There are whole cloves, clove-infused water, clove tea, and clove-based dental preparations. And they are not all the same. So let's start with the simplest option, whole clove. If you have whole cloves in your kitchen, you already have the basic ingredient. A whole clove is the dried flower bud of the clove tree. It's small, it's hard, and it has an incredibly strong aroma. But that little bud contains the aromatic oil responsible for much of clove's characteristic effect. Traditionally, people have placed a whole clove near an aching tooth for temporary comfort. But there's an important detail here. Don't aggressively chew a clove against a painful or damaged tooth. More is not automatically better. The goal is gentle and temporary, not aggressive. Now let's move to a method that is much easier to control. 2. Clove-infused water. Instead of putting a dry clove directly against your tooth, you can make a mild clove infusion. Here's the simple idea. Take 2 or 3 whole cloves. Place them in a cup of hot water. Let them steep for several minutes. Then allow the liquid to cool until it's comfortably warm or near room temperature. At that point, you have a mild clove-infused drink. Some people prefer using an infusion as a gentle mouth rinse rather than drinking it. And that's an important distinction. If your goal is oral comfort, you don't need to gulp down a strong clove preparation. Swish gently, then spit it out. If you experience burning, irritation, or worsening discomfort, stop. Now, there's another version of this same idea that many people already enjoy as a beverage, and it gives us a completely different way to think about clove. 3. Clove tea. Clove tea is basically a simple infusion made from whole cloves. You can make it with the same basic method. A few whole cloves, hot water, several minutes of steeping, then let it cool to a comfortable temperature. You can drink it as a warm, aromatic beverage. But here's where I want you to separate comfort from treatment. Drinking clove tea isn't going to repair a cavity. It isn't going to tighten a loose tooth, and it isn't going to reverse advanced gum disease. That's not what we're talking about. The interesting part is that you're using the same spice in a much less concentrated form. And that matters, because one of the biggest mistakes people make with natural remedies is assuming if a little works, more must work better. That isn't how it works, especially with essential oils and concentrated plant compounds. So keep the preparation simple, keep the amount modest, and don't turn a kitchen remedy into a concentrated chemical experiment. Because when we're talking about your teeth after 60, The goal isn't to find the strongest remedy. The goal is to protect what you still have. And that brings us to something even more important, because if you're experiencing tooth pain repeatedly, the clove isn't actually the main story. The reason your tooth hurts is the story. And that's where too many people make a dangerous mistake. They find something that temporarily reduces the pain. The pain disappears, and they assume the problem is gone. But the problem may still be sitting underneath. A cavity can continue progressing. A cracked tooth can continue deteriorating. An infection can continue developing. And gum disease can continue damaging the tissues supporting your teeth. So, if clove makes your mouth feel more comfortable, don't let that comfort convince you that the underlying problem has disappeared. Pain relief and problem resolution are not the same thing, and that distinction could be one of the most important things you hear in this entire video. Because we're not trying to help you hide a dental problem. We're trying to help you understand what you can do while also taking your dental health seriously. And in the next part, we're going to talk about the most concentrated form of clove and why this is where you need to be especially careful. 4. Clove oil. This is where you need to be careful, because whole cloves and diluted clove preparations are one thing. Concentrated clove oil is something completely different. Clove oil contains a high concentration of eugenol. That concentration is exactly why it has been used in certain dental materials and preparations. But it's also why you shouldn't treat a bottle of clove essential oil like it's an ordinary kitchen ingredient. Never swallow concentrated clove oil. And don't assume that putting undiluted essential oil directly onto your gums or tooth will make the remedy stronger. It can irritate the delicate tissues inside your mouth. It can cause burning, and repeated or excessive exposure can actually create another problem when you're already trying to protect your oral health. So if you've seen videos telling you to pour clove oil directly onto a painful tooth, don't copy that blindly. Natural doesn't automatically mean harmless. The concentration matters, the amount matters, and how you use it matters. This is one reason I prefer talking about whole cloves and mild preparations rather than telling you to experiment with concentrated essential oils. Because when you're over 60, your goal shouldn't be to try the strongest remedy you can find. Your goal should be to protect your natural teeth for as long as possible. And that brings us to another interesting question. Can clove actually help a toothache? This is where clove becomes genuinely interesting. Eugenol has a long history in dentistry because of its soothing and numbing properties. That's why clove has been associated with toothache relief for such a long time. If you have a painful tooth, temporary relief can feel like a miracle. You finally get a few minutes where the throbbing isn't dominating your attention. You can eat, you can sleep, you can concentrate. But remember what we talked about earlier. Feeling less pain doesn't necessarily mean the tooth is healthy. Imagine you have a cavity that's reached deeper into the tooth. You use something that temporarily makes the area feel better. The pain decreases. You think, great, it's gone. But the cavity didn't disappear. That's the trap. A natural remedy may change how you feel without fixing what's causing the problem. So if clove gives you temporary comfort, ask, why does this tooth hurt in the first place? That's the question that can help you protect your teeth. There's another traditional approach worth mentioning. 5. Clove and salt water. They're two different approaches, but a mild saltwater rinse can be used for temporary oral comfort. More isn't better, so keep any home preparation simple. If your gums are irritated, bleeding, swollen, or painful, that's not something you should simply keep rinsing and hoping will disappear. Those symptoms deserve attention, especially if they keep coming back. So if there's one thing I want you to take away from the clove section, it's this. Use a remedy for comfort if appropriate, but don't use comfort as a reason to delay care. Now let's step back from clove for a moment, because if your real goal is, I want to keep my natural teeth as long as possible, then clove is only one small piece of the picture. Your everyday oral care routine matters far more. Brush your teeth regularly with fluoride toothpaste. Clean between your teeth. Don't ignore bleeding gums. Don't ignore persistent sensitivity. Don't ignore a tooth that becomes loose. And don't keep postponing dental appointments because the pain temporarily disappeared. If you're having trouble cleaning between your teeth, ask your dental professional which method is appropriate for you. Some people may do well with floss. Others may benefit from interdental brushes or another cleaning method. The important thing is getting the spaces between your teeth clean, because that's where food debris and plaque can accumulate. And if you're already noticing that your gums bleed when you brush, don't simply decide, my gums are sensitive, so I'll brush less. That can move you in the wrong direction. Instead, get the problem evaluated and make sure you're using the right technique. Your toothbrush isn't supposed to be an enemy. It's supposed to be part of your daily protection. And this is where the story behind the title becomes much more meaningful. Maybe you're not actually one clove away from avoiding dentures. Maybe the real thing that changes your future is noticing a problem early, getting it checked, improving your daily oral care, and refusing to ignore your teeth simply because the discomfort temporarily disappears. Clove can be part of that conversation, but your habits are the bigger story. And there's one more situation where you absolutely shouldn't rely on a home remedy. If your face or jaw starts swelling, you have fever with dental pain, difficulty swallowing or breathing, or rapidly worsening pain, don't wait for clove. Get urgent professional help. And in the final part, we'll bring everything together and answer the question you've probably been wondering since the beginning. So, can clove really save your teeth? Clove can provide temporary comfort because of compounds such as eugenol, which have been used in dental preparations for a long time. But if a tooth has serious decay, an infection, advanced gum disease, or structural damage, clove isn't going to rebuild it. And that's actually good news, because protecting your natural teeth doesn't depend on finding one magical ingredient. It depends on what you do before a small problem becomes a major one. Think about it. A little sensitivity appears, you notice it, you don't ignore it for 6 months, a gum starts bleeding. You don't simply accept it as normal aging. A tooth becomes painful. You don't keep masking the pain with one home remedy after another. You get it checked. That's how you give yourself the best chance of dealing with problems while they're still manageable. And if you're worried about dentures, don't automatically assume that turning 60 means you're destined to lose your natural teeth. Your teeth don't have an expiration date simply because you passed 60. What matters is how well they're maintained, what problems develop, and how quickly those problems are addressed. So where does clove actually fit? Keep it simple. If you enjoy clove, You can use whole cloves in your cooking or make a mild clove infusion. You don't need to use huge amounts. You don't need concentrated oil. And you don't need to keep a clove pressed against your tooth all day. If you're using clove because your tooth hurts, remember the most important part. The pain is a message. Don't simply silence the message and forget about it. If the pain continues, comes back repeatedly, or is accompanied by swelling, bleeding, fever, a bad taste, or a loose tooth, get it checked. That's far more important than finding another stronger home remedy. And if you've been putting off a dental appointment because you're afraid the dentist will tell you that you need dentures, don't let fear make the decision for you. Find out what's actually happening. Sometimes the problem may be treatable. Sometimes the tooth may need significant treatment, and sometimes a tooth may unfortunately need to be removed. But you can't make an informed decision about your teeth by guessing. You need to know what's actually going on. Maybe the most valuable thing clove can do for you isn't saving a tooth by itself. Maybe it's getting you to pay attention. That little ache, bleeding when you brush, a tooth that's becoming sensitive? Pay attention. Because losing teeth isn't something you should simply accept as an unavoidable part of turning 60, 70, or 80. And your mouth can give you clues long before a serious dental problem becomes impossible to ignore. So take care of your teeth every day. Brush properly. Clean between them. Keep your regular dental visits. Don't smoke. Choose nutritious foods. And when something changes, don't wait months hoping it will disappear. And I want to be very clear about this before we finish. No food, spice, drink, or home remedy can regrow a missing tooth, reverse severe tooth decay, cure an advanced dental infection, or guarantee that you'll never need dentures. Clove can be interesting for temporary oral discomfort, but it isn't a substitute for professional dental care. If you have persistent tooth pain, swelling, bleeding, loose teeth, pus, fever, or difficulty eating, please get professional dental care. Your natural teeth are worth protecting, and the earlier you pay attention to a problem, the more options you may have. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever used clove for a toothache or gum discomfort? Tell me your experience in the comments. And if you're over 60 and your goal is to keep your natural teeth strong and functional for as long as possible, subscribe and stay with us. Take care of yourself. Stay consistent. We'll see you in the next video.